Hey guys, welcome to the video. Welcome to my garage. In this video, I'm going to be installing a sway bar onto Wratchet. So I've already been messing around with this a little bit, just trying to figure some of it out. Let me show you where I'm at right now. I've got the tube right here housing the sway bar. This is 1 3/4 DOM tubing. It goes from one end all the way across there to the other end, and right now it's all centered up where I want it to go. And you can see that it's got clearance underneath the fuel cell, and if you look right there, it also clearances the shift rod. So I can't move it up or down like this at all, and I really can't move it in or out this way because I'm going to secure it to this bar right here. But it seems to work out pretty well where it is right there, and also there's a straight shot right there, so when I want to pull this out, I can just take off the side panel and I'll be able to pull that out. And right now the one that's in there is 1 inch, but I can downsize it to a 3/4, or I can fit up to, I think, 1.25 inches in that tube just by getting different bushings here. But I need to get the geometry of the swing arm of the sway bar lined up with the geometry of the lower control arm. And I was trying to do that, but just having this held on with magnets, that kept moving around and everything. So right now, this is all squared up on both sides. This is where I want it to be. So I'm going to run a stitch weld on this side and on the other side. Then I can pretty much finish squaring up all this stuff, and I won't have to worry about this moving around. Alright, now I got my tube in here. It's stitched on both ends. I was able to take that cribbing out of there. Now it's nice and solid. I don't have to worry about this moving around. Before, this part kept moving around when I was trying to figure out the geometry over here. So this will be much better. So what I'm starting with here is, this is my 1 inch sway bar that's running all the way through to the other side. It's 44 inches long, or maybe it's 42 inches long. Either way, I will put a link to all of the parts that I bought in the description in case you guys are working on something like this for your Baja or whatever project you got. So I got the sway bar going all the way through to the other side, and I got my tube here. Tube goes all the way through. It clears the fuel cell. It clears the shift rod. So everything's good there. Then I've got a bushing here, and this is just, machined to fit inside the tube and have the sway bar go through there. I machined this one myself because some of this stuff is really custom, so rather than try to order one that would fit, I just machined my own. But they do, Kar-tek does sell some of these, so you could, if you don't have a little lathe where you can do this, you can buy some. So this goes between, that goes between the tube and the sway bar, kind of like a little bearing. I made myself a little washer just because it's really smooth for Delrin to pivot up against itself, like that. And then I've got my actual sway bar link. This is a super universal piece that Kar-tek sells. It's splined for the 1 inch. Nothing fancy there. That goes on there. And then there's a 3/8 by 24 bolt that goes in the end here. And then again, you can order little washers. I just machined this one myself because I had the aluminum, and I think I just like playing with my lathe. But it just acts as a washer. So that keeps that snug. And then you just tighten this nut on the swing arm, and it pinches down and grabs a hold of the splines. And then you've got your sway bar arm. I don't have the other arm yet, but if I did, this would the arm on the other side would be moving exactly like this one. So now this kind of brings me to uncharted territory. I do have my link here, maybe. I don't know if this is going to be the link that I use, but I bought the 2 Heims and this little spreader in between there. So what I'm dealing with now is, as the lower control arm goes up and down, it's traveling in a different plane than the sway bar link. So their distances here are constantly changing. So I'm trying to find like a neutral spot that is the most neutral at both extremes. So I think for that it's really just going to be a matter of trying out a couple of different places. So I've got this clamped down there. I've got some crazy temporary pieces made that I can connect onto the link here, and I'm just going to vice grip all this stuff in place. And then I've got the jack on the lower control arm. I'm just going to cycle the suspension from full compression to full droop, and I'm just going to get an idea of what this link is doing, and then probably just move pieces around until I find a spot that works, or if I don't find anything that works, then it's back to the drawing board. So I started coming up, and you can see that the arm here is going to interfere with the reservoir, but I took the reservoir and hose clamped it onto the bypass shock just so that they're all one unit. So I can just take that hose clamp off, and I can actually just move it over to the next set of tubes here. And that's what I'm going to do, and so that'll get that out of the way. So I've got a lower position and this upper position. These do work. It gets pretty extreme at full droop, and it gets even more extreme at full compression. That's when that little link like kind of gets pushed to the limit. You can see here it's almost starting to run out of geometry. If this drooped down much farther, as soon as this link and this arm are straight, there's nothing else that they can do. At that point they would just draw upon each other, and something would break. At the top, it's still got more room, but as the arm comes up, it actually, this point moves in so far that this link actually starts leaning in pretty steep. It works and it's doable, but I gotta tell you, I'm not loving this. I think the problem is this link is just too short. It would be nice if it was a little bit longer. And because of the way I'm trying to connect this underneath the arm, I'm giving up probably 2 inches of length here. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a step back, and I'm going to see if I can change up this plate. And instead of connecting the Heim underneath the arm, I'm going to make it so that it connects up here with the arm, so that I can get 2 more inches of length there. I think that'll relax this link a little bit. So I'm gonna turn the camera off and do a little bit of fab work without the camera, because when I do stuff like this, it's a really slow process. But when I come up with something different, I'll turn the camera back on and show you what I've got. Alright guys, I'm back. It's been over a week. It's been only a blip of a second for you guys, but it's been over a week for me, and I have made a bunch of changes, and I want to show you what I did. First of all, this is the link that I was using on there before, and as you can see, I welded in another piece here. Originally, it just had this one piece. As an experiment, because I wanted to experiment by making it longer, I welded on another piece that I had, and so I had this longer link, which worked much better, because the longer link makes the geometry changes not as bad. So since this worked, I want to make a more permanent one. So I've cut a piece of, this is 3/4 inch aluminum, and I need to thread and tap both ends, one with a right hand thread, one with a left hand thread, and my lathe is not big enough to do this, so I'm going to show you a little trick that I use to thread tubes like this that I can't get into my lathe. Okay, so I've got the tube here, and I've got these taps. These are 1/2 inch 20 taps. And the tricky thing here is, obviously, I need to get this into the tube, and I need to get it in there deep. I need to thread it in a lot so that I can thread the Heim in there a long way, get a lot of thread engagement so that this will be nice and strong. Obviously, this needs to be really straight. I mean, this tap is not even much difference in diameter than the tube. So it's really important that you get a straight cut in here. If I were to just put this in the vise and try to freehand a hole in here, that would be almost impossible for me. It would probably go in there on an angle like this. It would be really, really difficult. Trust me, I've tried it before with not very good success. So what I do for something like this, and I wouldn't recommend you do this on like a critical suspension component or a steering link or anything like that, but for something like this that's not super duper critical or not life-threatening, you can get away with this. So what I did is I machined a little piece with a 1/4 inch hole in the middle, and it's got a 1 inch deep. So what happens is, this is a 1/4 inch bit, and this goes through there and basically aligns me. I use this as alignment to keep the drill going straight. And I made it 1 inch so that it's got a good amount of area in there to help keep it straight. And then a 1/2 inch of this has been bored out to the same diameter as this tube. Close. There's a little bit of slop, but not much. So this goes over here, and you can see I also put a slit in it. So what's going to happen is I'll put this over here, and then I clamp down on this with my vice grip, and it'll pinch it in where I've got those little saw marks, and that'll hold it on there really straight. And then I'll run my drill in here, and what you do, you're going to freehand this part, but when you put it in there, you can feel if it's binding on here, because this is just aluminum, so it wouldn't take too much to go off kilter. But if you just go in here and keep it so that it's not binding on this piece, and then just put mild pressure on there and then just slowly work your way through, then this piece will allow you to get a real nice pilot hole going in here. And then when I've got that in there, I will chase this through with, I'm actually going to chase it through with a 7/16 drill bit. It's supposed to be a 29/64. That's the correct drill for a 1/2 inch by 20. But I don't have one. So I'm going to use a 7/16, which is only like 20 thousandths of an inch smaller. And when you're doing aluminum, especially when you're doing a long bore, that's not a problem at all. Now you might think, now that you've got that pilot hole in there, all you need to do is burn this thing through as fast as you can, but that's not the case. This will still have a tendency to go not straight. So when you're chasing down that hole you just made, you still need to keep taking this out and just looking at it and making sure that everything seems like it's going in straight. Another thing I'm going to do at this point to help myself is I have a tendency to always go up. All right, I would have had a tendency to do that with the pilot bit, and I would have a tendency to do that with the larger bit here. So what I'm going to do is loosen up the vise, rotate this 90 degrees, and then it's real easy for me to see when I'm drilling that I'm in line this way, but not so much this way. So that'll kind of change things up so that I'm not favoring one direction the entire time. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it helps me personally. Another thing that you'll want to do is, if you look in there as you're drilling, you can see your pilot hole, and if you're going off center, you'll actually see your larger drill going off from center. So if you keep peeking in there, like right now, see if I can show you. If you can make that out, you can see the pilot hole in there, and I'm still going right down the center of it, which is good. That's what I'm looking for. That at least helps tell me, because I'm probably an inch and a half. I'll be 2 inches in there when I'm done, and I want to keep that straight. All right, now I just felt all of a sudden you feel the drill bit stop biting, and that's when you are done chasing your pilot, and now the pilot hole is gone. This looks pretty good. So I'm gonna pack it with some oil. And then this is my right hand thread, I think. It's real hard to tell. And I'm gonna start chasing this in. And of course, you have to be real careful with this to keep it straight, because this will want to slowly deviate, and if it does, oh, see, that's deviating big time. If it does deviate, you won't make it all the way in, and your hole will be ruined. Just like when you're drilling the hole, the beginning is the most difficult part. Once you get a certain way in, then it will essentially hold itself true. But that first, like, 3/4 of an inch is crucial, and you can feel it. I'm gonna do my little rotation trick again. I'd like to take it out, blow these chips out, put some more oil in there. Notice that when I'm doing this, I'm holding it down here. That's to try to keep the force on the tap consistent. If you just swing it off the handle, then you get a rough circular like torque on the tap, and you don't want to do that, especially with aluminum like this. Alright, so if you guys can see in there, I don't know if you can't see all the way down in there, but came out really nice. Very happy with that. To me, it just looks incredibly straight. So I'm happy with that. I chamfered the edge a little bit, and then I blew it out a bunch with my air compressor, and I ran a rag in there. Let's spin this in here and see if it goes all the way in. So far it's feeling nice and loose. Sometimes after I blow it out, I have to run the thread in there one more time just to kind of clear out some pieces, but this one actually feels really good. Yeah, that's good. It's all the way in there. Yeah, very good. I'm going to do the other end with the left hand thread, and then I'll put this together and we'll bolt it into the car. This wide angle lens is getting welding slag all over it. Okay, so now my links are fully made, and actually I made 2 of them because as long as I had the drill out and all that, I might as well make them both. So this is awesome. They both came out really good, really happy with this. Now I'm going to bolt this onto the chassis and I'll show you the changes that I made where these connect up on the sway bar itself. All right, there it is. I got my new link in here. Nothing's changed down here yet. I changed this whole connection point. Before this was connecting down here. This bar was longer and I had that triangle shaped piece. Did away with that, cut this back a little bit before the connection point was down here, moved it up, made these brackets to kind of extend that. Don't judge me on my bolt lengths. When this is complete, I'll get some grade 8 bolts in all this stuff that is proper length. I believe I've found a location where I can do it without the misalignment spacers up top. I still need the misalignment spacers down below, but I think this will work. I think it looks good. I need to double check this location, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this all the way to full droop, check the link, and then run it all the way up to full compression, check the link. If that location is good, then I've machined some teeny tiny 3/16 tabs. One will go over here, and this funny shaped one goes over here because this extends a little tiny bit over the control arm. But I need to double check this stuff, and then I can go ahead and tack these on and then weld that up solid, and then I still need to weld a brace up in here. Alrighty, that is it. I've got my tabs in place, welded up down here. I'm liking all of that. I got these pieces on up here. Everything's good there. No issues running into the bypass or anything like that. I've got this support welded in over here. I also welded the one in on the other side, so I'm good to go there. Everything is good, and I've already cycled it to full droop. Nothing binds. Full compression. Nothing binds. So this is good. Very good. I'm happy with this. Wratchet now has a sway bar. I still need to weld the tabs on the other side, so I still need to do that, but I'm going to finish this video without doing the other side. So now that he has a sway bar, you'll see me, once he's up and running and I'm driving him around, you'll see sometimes I have the sway bar in there. Sometimes I won't. It's more of a tuning aid for the suspension, depending on what sort of terrain I'm driving on. I just didn't want to not be able to have it. Like, if I never run with this again, that's fine. I just want to know that I took the time to install what needed to be installed, so if I decide I did need it for some reason, I can just throw it in there. So that's it for this video, guys. Sway bar is in, looking really good. I think it's going to be fun to be able to tune it, adjust it, and just kind of see the difference it has on the handling of Wratchet. This video was compiled over about 2.5 weeks, so if the video seems a little bit choppy, I apologize for that. I was trying to edit it as time was going by so that I could keep it as consistent as possible, but we'll see. I'll see how it looks when I bring this inside and edit it. But either way, I hope you guys liked the video. I hope it's helping you with whatever you're working on, and I hope to see you in the next video. Take care.